What's going on, duelists? It's your boy Nick, bringing you today on the channel a combo tutorial and test hand video for my recently updated Melfy Chimera deck list for the brand new format, which is January 2024. For those of you new to the channel, welcome. My name is Nick. We do Yu-Gi-Oh content mainly focused around rogue and casual decks alike. If that's the kind of Yu-Gi-Oh content that you're interested in, then I highly encourage you to subscribe to the channel. We are working our way to 1,500 subscribers, and I need your help to get there. We're a few subs away from the 1,300 milestone, and as long as the community keeps growing, we'll get there eventually. So, as some of you may know, I just updated the deck profile, which will be linked in the description down below, for my Melfy Chimera list. I felt that with the new ban list and a new year, it was time to drop the spice on you guys. And a lot of you guys liked the profile and stated in the comments, some of you, that you wanted to see combos. So that's what I'll be bringing to you guys today. A couple of, 1 to 2 card combos, very quick. If you guys want a more in-depth on what the cards do, I highly encourage you to watch the profile, because I'm not going to be explaining too much about the cards. I'm just going to be showing you guys the combos and how both Melfy and Chimera mesh together quite well. So yeah, with the intro and stuff out of the way, we're going to dive into the first combo here, which is a 2-card combo, which is Obedience Schooled plus Cornfield Codal. Now, this could also be the Big Wing Baphomet. It still works the same way. So what we're going to do here is we're going to activate Obedience Schooled since we control no monsters, and we will be special summoning 3 level 2 or lower beast effect monsters with different names directly from our deck. So we're going to be grabbing Kalantosa. We will be grabbing a Melfy Wally, and we'll round that out with the last beast just being, grab a Fenny. Doesn't really matter. So those are the 3 beasts we're going to be grabbing off of our Obedience Schooled here. Now what we're going to do, keep in mind that Obedience School does lock you into special summons for beast monsters specifically. So just something to keep in mind. So what we're going to do here is we're going to overlay both our Wally and our Kalantosa for an Xyz summon of our Joyous Melfys. Go ahead and put that in defense. Now, what this is going to set up here is that on the opponent's turn, Joyous Melfys, as a quick effect, can tag itself out back into the extra deck. The material obviously falls off of it when that occurs, but at resolution, he can special summon beast monsters from the graveyard up to the number of material that he had. So if you look at the material we used to make it, was both Wally and Kalantosa. So not only will that revive both of those monsters from the graveyard with their effects intact, but because Joyous Melfys is a beast monster, and, Kalantosa is special summoned by it, we will get the pop off of Kalantosa. Not only that, but we'll also have Melfy Wally live on the opponent's turn where we want it to give us that, rescue cat-like effect. So the more that they continue extending, the more we can punish them. But that's obviously not all. So what we're going to do here is we're going to, once we Xyz summon into Joyous, we're going to use Cornfield Codal's effect, pitching itself, to then allowing us to add a monster from deck to hand who specifically mentions Chimera Fusion in its text. Now, generally, a lot of the normal combo is that you search for Mirror Sword Knight. However, we're not going to be doing that here. Remember, we activated Obedience Schooled and we are beast locked. We cannot special summon monsters except beast monsters. Now, there is a way to play around that, and I'm here to show you how. So you're going to go Codal to search Big Wing Baphomet. Keep in mind, we have not normal summoned yet. So this Melfy Fenny that we summoned off Obedience Schooled happens to just be tribute fodder, so we can go ahead and actually normal summon our Baphomet here. Because we can still normal summon non-beast monsters, we just can't special summon non-beast monsters from this point forward. So we'll activate Baphomet's effect, and it's important to know that you want to make Joyous Melfys before you do this, because once the Baphomet effect resolves, you are locked into fusion summons as well for the rest of the turn. So you want to make sure that you go ahead and make Joyous Melfys first. So Big Wing Baphomet effect will grab us Chimera Fusion, as well as a level 4 beast monster. So we'll grab Gazelle here. And now what we can do is we can go Chimera Fusion, fusion summoning away the Baphomet and the Gazelle in our hand to make our level 6 Chimera the King of Phantom Beast fusion monster here. Remember, it is a beast, so this is perfectly legal. We're going to go ahead and use some of our graveyard effects. We're only going to be able to use the Gazelle here. We're not going to be able to use Baphomet because, number one, there is no... Well, actually, there is an illusion to revive. But remember, we are beast locked with Obedience Schooled. So unfortunately, we don't get the graveyard value off Baphomet, but we do get the graveyard effect off Gazelle. Plus, we will also activate our Chimera effect, so we can go ahead and hand rip our opponent for 1 during the end phase. And then off of the Gazelle, we can just go ahead and grab a Sword Knight for follow-up, for example. And then don't forget to use the Grave effect of Chimera Fusion. Since we control a monster whose name is Chimera the Flying Mythical Beast, we can add this back to our hand, go ahead and set that face down. And like I said, we have follow-up for next turn, and we'll pass here. Keep in mind at end phase, they'll lose a card out of their hand. And we're pretty much off to the races from this point. Like I said, this deck is very mid-rangey. It's not combo or control, but it does like to play a lot on the opponent's turn, thanks to the Melfy cards. Like I said, you can tag Joyous Melfys at any point during their turn as a quick effect. So even if they try to imperm this off the rip, you can just dodge it. And then what will happen is, it'll just go ahead and revive the Wally and the Kalantosa. We can get a free pop off the Kalantosa, or at least, force some kind of interaction out preemptively from them. And then not only that, with Wally now on the board, as they continue to put bodies on the field, or if they target the Wally for an attack, for example, we can go Wally effect, bounce to hand, and then this is where things just really start to snowball out of control, because off Wally, we'll go ahead and grab Caddy and Puppy, for example. As the opponent continues playing, we can go Puppy effect to bounce, to then bring out another Kalantosa from our deck, which is just another pop. So there's tons of removal here. And then off of Caddy, we can bounce back, again, assuming they continue to extend. And then Caddy can search us something like a Penny, for example, which can, threaten a synchro play on their turn. Or even if we wanted to, we could go Caddy to grab ourselves a copy of Gazelle, if we so wish. That way we have an additional starter next turn as well. Although we already do have the Mirror Sword Knight that we grabbed off of the Gazelle that we initially fused with here. So, you may not want to do that. It just depends on how you want to set up and establish. There's a lot of flexibility here. Plus, keep in mind, the negate that we have, in the graveyard for targeting protection is live because we do control a monster whose name is Chimera the Mythical Beast. So if they did try to imperm us, for example, or target any of our cards, we could just banish the Kotal to negate and destroy that card as well. And we also have Chimera Fusion lying in the back row here, that we can, again, chain at any point during their turn. And because all the Melfys keep bouncing back to hand, we basically have unlimited fusion material to go into stuff like Guardian Chimera on the opponent's turn. We could even make the large, I'm drawing a blank, the Chimera the Illusion Beast on their turn, using the Chimera from field and the Mirror Sword Knight in our hand. That way we at least get the Sword Knight graveyard effect live for the monster negate as well. So like I said, there's a lot of flexibility here on how you want to do. And that was just a simple 2-card line. And look at all of the advantage that we can generate off of that. And all we started with was 1 Kotal and 1 Obedience Gold. Now again, you can still pull off a pretty similar combo. Like, you don't need to have the illusion monsters. Like, Obedience Gold by itself is an insane 1-card line that basically gets you into what you saw there with Joyous, just minus the Chimera package. So that's like the bread and butter combo that this deck has to offer, and I think it's a combo that most people just don't see coming. Another thing I want to point out to you is I want to showcase to you guys how we can actually effectively use Penny. So let's just assume that all we have is a single Wally. We'll go end phase, special Wally from hand, pass turn. Now again, when the opponent normal or specials or attacks the Wally, Wally will trigger, bouncing itself back to our hand. That will allow us to then special 2 Melfys from deck with different names. Generally, our targets for that are going to be Puppy and Caddy. Now, if you have a Puppy and Caddy in the hand, then you just summon something else off the Wally. But you would have Puppy and Caddy on field anyway, because if you drew them, they would special themselves at end phase in the same fashion that Wally did. So, there's no way to, mess up this combo, for example. But you go into Puppy and Caddy. Then as the opponent continues to play or extend, you can just trigger both of them. They'll bounce back to hand. Like I said, Puppy will basically get you into a Kalantosa, which is just a free pop of any card on the field, which is obviously nice. You just want to have that removal and, use this to shut your opponent down from some of their lines. And then Caddy, in this particular case, we'll go ahead and add ourselves a Penny to hand. Now this is where things get kind of cracked, because now Penny, since a Beast Monster has returned to our hand this turn, Penny is absolutely live as a quick effect during the opponent's turn here. And what Penny does is that he'll special summon himself from the hand as a quick effect at any point on their turn, as long as a Beast Monster did return to hand this turn. He'll special summon himself, and then he allows you to synchro summon immediately after he resolves, using himself from the field and Melfys in the hand as material. Now, if you look at all the Melfys, again, part of the reason why this is so cracked is because you never lose advantage with Melfys. Like, their effects, when they tag out, they don't go to grave. They go back to your hand, and it's just free resource to play with next turn, which is crazy. But in this case, Penny has one of 2 options. We can go for the more proactive approach, which is Merry Melfys, which just, is a generic level 4 synchro requiring a tuner and a non-tuner. So that could just be Penny plus any of the Melfys in her hand, for example, and then we can make the Merry. And then since Merry was special summoned, we can target a monster they control, bounce it back to hand. So off of a single Wally, you effectively get a pop and a bounce, which is really, really nice. Or let's just assume that there is nothing that you want to bounce. Let's just say like they set back row and pass, or there just isn't anything worth bouncing, for example, because they didn't, or they weren't able to establish anything too crazy. You can also make Muddy Mud Dragon by using an additional Melfy from the hand as synchro material. Since again, Penny allows you to synchro into anything as long as you just use Melfys as the material. And since we have so many Melfys in hand, you could use Penny and 2 Melfys, which all total up to 6, to make Muddy Mud Dragon. Now the reason why this is relevant is because, assuming you go into this, Muddy Mud plus any dark monster on the following turn gets you access into our copy of the Grapha Dragon Overlord of Dark World, which is not only a fiend monster, which has great synergy with the Chimera package because Chimera loves having beasts and fiends in rotation, but this is just the way to give this deck some negation of sorts. It's not strictly negation, it just takes their effect and changes it to something else, but for all intents and purposes, it's effectively like a negate. But that's also really cool, so you can use, Penny to make Mud Dragon. Again, you don't have access to Grapha yet, you do still need a dark monster, but with this deck, that's not hard to achieve. Again, this is just showing you what you can do off of a single Wally. Obviously, you'd have other cards and other things in play, so getting to Grapha is not as hard as it actually seems. On paper, it's actually quite easy, to be honest. So, with those 2 combos out of the way, I'm just going to do a very quick test hand for you guys. I'm going to power shuffle the deck here on camera very quickly. That way you guys know that I'm not trying to stack the deck in any way, shape, or form. Hopefully you guys have been enjoying the content, and hopefully you guys are excited for the new year. I have tons of spicy content coming your way. I'm just waiting for things to come in the mail. I'm also waiting for the release of a couple of sets. Maze of Millennia, for example, that'll be dropping later this month. Has some pretty spicy stuff in it. Not to mention, we are waiting for our next core set, which is coming in February, which is Phantom Nightmare, and that has a lot of crazy stuff in it as well. I can't wait to continue bringing you guys really awesome content post Phantom Nightmare and post Maze. But also stay tuned on the channel for a couple more things. I do have some deck profiles brewing that have yet to be featured on the channel before. So I am excited to bring you guys, additional content that just hasn't been seen yet. So stay tuned. Like I said, if you're watching this and you're not subscribed, subscribe. All it does is help me out to continue bringing you that really cool content. So we went ahead and cut the deck, and we're going to start with the 5-card opener. We have Kodal, Talents, Kalantosa, Alpha, and a Sword Knight. So this is obviously really, really strong. Whether you're going first or second, this hand is still great. I mean, going second, you have Talents and Alpha to play through their board. But going first, I mean, if they hand trap you, it just turns on the Talents anyway. And drawing cards like Kalantosa isn't even that bad because, like I said, there's ways for us to get it out of our hand quite easily. So we're going to start this off. We drew the Sword Knight, which is funny. So we can try to use Kodal here just to kind of fish for a hand trap potentially, just to see if they want to ash that, for example. So we'll go Kodal effect. And then, like, for example, even if they drolled us here, like, it's still not the end of the world, because then we can just go Talents, look at the hand and then rip, like, their best card out. And then it's pretty much a battle of attrition at that point. But, we'll go Kodal effect, Kodal. In this particular case, we're going to go ahead and grab ourselves a copy of Gazelle, since we already have a copy of Mirror Sword Knight in the hand. Now, if that resolves, then, great. We're just going to go ahead and normal summon our Sword Knight, activate Sword Knight effect, tributing itself, to then go ahead and special our Baphomet from our deck. Then we can activate Baphomet effect on summon, allowing us to search for a copy of Chimera Fusion and a Gazelle. And then what we can do here is we can go Chimera Fusion. We'll activate that, fusing not only our Baphomet on field, but our Gazelle in the hand. And that will allow us to make, assuming you're going first, it's generally better to make this because getting the hand rip at end phase is so crucial sometimes. So we'll make our Chimera the King of Phantom Beasts, trigger our Gazelle to search an illusion, trigger Baphomet to special an illusion from grave, and then activate our Chimera the King of Phantom Beasts to rip a card out of their hand at end phase. So off of the Baphomet, we'll grab Sword Knight, and then off of the Gazelle, we're actually going to grab ourselves a copy of Nightmare Magician from the deck to our hand. Now keep in mind, again, at any point if they did have a hand trap, we had the Talents anyway, so we can just hard punish them for it. And then at this point, we'll use the Graveyard effect, the Chimera Fusion, adding itself back to our hand. We'll set it, and then we can effectively pass turn at this juncture. Keep in mind, at end phase, they'll lose a card out of their hand, and then the moment they draw for their turn, we can just fire the Sword Knight again, using its effect to then go ahead and get us into a copy of Big Wing Berfomet, and then we can trigger the Berfomet effect on their turn, searching us Chimera Fusion and our last copy of Gazelle, which is obviously pretty strong. Now, like I said, there wasn't any Melfys in that opening hand, but realistically, the Chimera package is strong enough to carry itself, and so is the Melfy package in that regard. Like, you don't need to open Melfys for this deck to be good, just like you don't need to open Chimera stuff for the deck to be good either. Like, either engine is so strong that it's able to, have its own legs, so to speak. But combined is when things get really nutty. But like I said, with this particular test hand, we only drew into the Chimera package, which isn't terrible, because like I said, look at all the follow-up we have. Like, we have a fusion play live on their turn, plus all the follow-up in the world that we could ask for. Keep in mind, we have Alpha for the crackback on turn 3, to basically bait out whatever they established. And then we have the fusion line here that we can go into either Chimera the Illusion Beast or threaten a Guardian Chimera play to draw us into more cards and pop some stuff on field and generate us even more advantage. So we're going to shuffle this back one more time. I want to do one more test hand just to see if we can get into the Melfy cards so I can show you guys how the whole thing is supposed to work. But like I said, hopefully you guys are liking the content. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. I'm going to be bringing you guys really cool content in the future, so you don't want to miss out on that. Make sure that you're subscribed to the channel. We're working our way to 1,500 subs, and I cannot get there without your help. For those of you who have been subscribed and have been, with me through this journey, I can't thank you guys enough. You guys are the reason why I continue to do this content, and honestly, it just makes me really happy, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. So, all right, we went ahead and shuffled. I'm going to go ahead and cut, and we'll go ahead and draw another 5-card opener. So we got Berfomet, Triple Tactics Talents, Called by the Grave, Kalantosa, and we have an Obedience Schooled. Just never punished. We basically just win, honestly. Like, that's just crack. Like, there's no way we lose with this hand. Obedience Schooled, if they want to ash this, be my guest. We have a Called by and a Triple Tack that we hard opened, so, like, I'm sure they'll be very happy to know that we are just blessed and open the out. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and resolve Obedience Schooled. That's going to special summon out Wally. That will special summon out a copy of Kalantosa, which is why we play 2 of it, just in case you do happen to draw the 1. And then we'll go ahead and fish out a Fenny, I guess. It really doesn't matter, because, you could grab like Puppy or Caddy, but generally you want to be grabbing Puppy and Caddy off the Wally. So whatever you're summoning here is more of a throwaway, because remember, it is negated and it does die at end phase off of the Obedience School restriction. So now that we've resolved that, and again, even if they had a hand trap, we just open the out regardless, so there's no way that that wasn't going to go through. But now what we can do here is we're going to take Kalantosa and the Wally, and we will overlay them. I guess there's a couple of routes we can do this, actually. You know what? Why don't we just use the Wally and the Fenny, actually? This is a lot better because we hard opened a Kalantosa anyway. So let's go Wally and Fenny, and let's go ahead and make Joyous Melfys. Like I said, you want to do that first because once you resolve Berfomet, you're fusion locked. Now we're going to tribute our Kalantosa to normal summon our Berfomet. Remember, this is a legal play. Obedience Gold only locks you out of special summoning for beasts. We can still normal summon non-beast monsters. So we'll go Berfomet effect here, searching ourselves a Chimera Fusion and a Gazelle. Again, even if they hand trapped us there, like I said, they're just hard punished because we opened both Called by and Talents anyway. Now what we can do is we can activate our copy of Chimera Fusion, fusing away our Berfomet and our Gazelle from hand. We'll go ahead into our boy here, the level 6 Chimera, the King of Phantom Beasts. Activate our effects here in the graveyard. Keep in mind, Berfomet cannot be used, number 1, because we do not have an Illusion Engraved to revive, but we are also beast locked with Obedience Gold. So no effect on Berfomet, but we can go Chainlink 1 Gazelle, Chainlink 2 Chimera to chain block from cards like Ash. Gazelle will search us an Illusion. In this particular case, I guess grabbing Sword Knight isn't so bad. That way we do have a follow-up play for next turn. And then what we'll do is keep in mind at end phase they'll lose a card out of their hand. We'll go Chimera Fusion, add itself back. And at this point we can set Chimera Fusion and set the Called by, assuming we didn't need to use it on our turn. Like I said, this could have played out differently depending on if they did have hand traps, because with talents, we could have dug deeper into our deck with the draw 2 and potentially opened more combo pieces. But for the time being, this is perfectly fine. Like, the boards look very unassuming, but they have insane potential. So we'll pass turn, they lose a card out of their hand, and then on their turn, we'll make sure to use our Joyous Melfys, you know, sending both Wally and Fenny to grave, but then we can revive beast monsters up to the number of material that Joyous had, which in this case was 2. So we'll special Wally, special Fenny, and now we're pretty much all set up. Fenny's live because we have Countertoss to summon from hand to still get our pop, and then we have Wally to go ahead and into our puppy and caddy line. Plus, you know, we still have a call by, assuming we didn't already use it, and we have access to a fusion play on their turn, whether that's for Guardian Chimera or a, you know, different approach. But that's pretty much going to wrap up the combos and test hands for my Melfy Chimera list post Banlist. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the content. Like I said, like and subscribe if you haven't already, and stay tuned for more amazing content coming your way. With that being said, this is Nick, hitting that end phase. Peace.